What is up, you guys? Joey here. Got something really cool to show you today. Technically something that isn't even out yet. I was just perusing Meijer looking for the new LEGO Lightyear sets, and they didn't have them. But I made a pit stop in the entertainment section where they have all their movies and video games, and they had a little section of 18+ LEGO sets. The Hogwarts Crest Mosaic, they had the new Succulents from the Botanical line, and they had this. This is the Horizon Forbidden West TALLNECK, and technically this doesn't come out till May 1st. But Meijer doesn't have street dates. I got insanely lucky. So I did purchase this legally, and I'm so glad I did. I played a chunk of Zero Dawn when I got my PS4, but now that we've got a PS5, I just posted that video. While recording this, it was about 10 minutes ago. So go check that out if you haven't already. But I'm really excited to play Forbidden West and see how it holds up to the original. But yeah, enough yapping about it. Let's actually get into this model because it is something to behold. So to start off, we've got the box here, and it's a relatively sizable box. This was $79.99. It's got the new LEGO 18+ box design, so it's got, the sort of greebling down here, and it's got 18+ with the classy black gradient there, with the model pictured very nicely, and it looks awesome. I really do like this style of box. I was a little confused as to why this was an 18+ set when they first announced it, but honestly, this really is like a relatively complex build, B, not really playable, and C, it's definitely a display piece. It's got this stand it pegs in. There's really no playability to it, so I get why they did it. It also looks really cool in the box, but it has a little diagram blueprint here of the size and some product shots on the back, as well as some art from the game. Something that did bother me is that it's one of those thumb punchy boxes. I hate those. I keep all my LEGO boxes just because I'm a hoarder. I feel like these thumb punches really just destroy the boxes and usually don't even work that well. If they're on like 4+ sets and like, battle packs and really small boxes, it makes sense, but this is an 18+ set that cost me, $80, $90. So I think it's just sort of unacceptable to have these thumb punches, so I just cut it with a knife, and it really kind of screwed up the lamination at the bottom there. This is set number 76989. It has 1,222 pieces. That's a really good price per part ratio, but a lot of the parts are smaller detail pieces, so it makes sense. But you do get some new parts, a really good selection of new parts, as well as that brand new Aloy figure, which is fantastic. So yeah, moving on from the box, we've got the instruction booklet here, and it's a nice thick instruction booklet. It isn't like the heavy cardstock that they use on some of the much fancier sets, but it is a sturdy cardstock here. And it does have a blurb about the world of Horizon. It's got a little interview with the designer here, as well as some lore from the game, little blurbs about the TALLNECK and some design specifics. So I really like when LEGO manuals do this. It just gives you something sort of interesting to read. And it's so cool just kind of getting a glimpse into the LEGO design process as well. It's not super in-depth, but it's plenty, and it is really interesting, and there's more than a lot of times there usually is. And what I really appreciate was this Aloy comparison of the actual model from the game and that brand new minifigure. That's really cool to have that side by side, front and back comparison. And then there's a really cool piece of art from the game. And then it gets you right into the instructions. But on the back, it has the feather with the spear, and it says, "To us were left the wonders of creation, beasts of air, water, earth, and steel." That's just cool. That's really classy. Feedback and win. Who remembers those, the instruction booklets with like the kid on the back? Like, yeah, I miss those days. We should be a proper country. And that pretty much just leaves us with the model itself. And this thing is large. This is the Aloy minifigure, just for, size comparison. That's just absolutely huge. On the back of the box, On the back of the box, it does say it's 34 centimeters or 13.5 inches tall. So yeah, it's just over a foot. And I think technically in game, this is a little smaller than it should be. The TALLNECKs are huge, but as a build, as a display piece, I'm comfortable saying, you know, it is minifigure scale. Anything bigger would have been a little ridiculous. For the overall construction of this set, you start off building this base plate here. It's a really interesting snot technique, or studs knot on top. It's got a really interesting and colorful inner structure there. And it all sort of comes together really sturdily. And then there's just some terraforming work done on top. But to get a closer look at the base, we will remove the TALLNECK here. And it is possible to remove him from this base, but it's a little tricky because he is pegged in there with some Technic pins, but they're definitely not intended to be removed consistently. But yeah, he does come off, and he'll stand on his own relatively well. He's got those sort of mixel ball joints at his feet there, so he can sort of pivot them. But this is your little display base here, and it's really, really cool. You've got this little birch tree with these really pretty orange and yellow leaves. That looks really, really cool. And right next to that, you have the tall grass that Aloy can hide in from the Watcher here. What's really cool is that this Watcher build is really interesting. It's pretty simple, but it looks great, and it comes with translucent blue, red, and yellow eyes to mimic all the different stages of awareness that the Watcher has, and that's really cool. I appreciate it when they do little things like that. As well, there's some rocky bits here, and an old stoplight. With this cool, wire sort of coiled around there. That's a really cool detail, and it's just a little embellishment, to make it feel post-apocalyptic and dystopian. And I really like that. It looks really cool, and the construction of it's really interesting. And honestly, that little rubber wire sells it for me. And yeah, and you can see on here these 4 gray Technic pins, and that is what the TALLNECK itself pegs into. Let's take a closer look at the Watcher and Aloy before we get into the TALLNECK build. But the Watcher here is a pretty small and simple build, but it's really sleek and effective. It's nothing too crazy. It kind of reminds me of Portal. I don't know, his head kind of looks like Wheatley, but he's got these little feet that are articulated, and he can stand on his own, sort of. He's pretty top heavy, so you kind of have to articulate the head back and the tail out to get him to sort of balance properly there. But he does have this interesting new piece that at least I haven't come across in any sets yet, but it is this dark bluish gray bar that has a little section in the middle, so it's shorter than the standard length bar. It actually reminds me of the lipstick piece that originally showed up in, I don't remember if it was Friends or a CMF series. It's hard, sturdy ABS plastic instead of the rubbery material that piece is. So this is great for mock builders, and you get a good handful of extras. You get some black ones and some dark bluish gray ones in here. So that is fantastic and really cool to see those. Those are some parts I would have loved when I was really heavy into mock building. But yeah, the Watcher is fantastic, but definitely one of the highlights of this set is this Aloy minifigure, and she just looks awesome. She comes with her white bow and arrow. It's just the standard, classic Lego bow mold, just molded in white plastic. I think that's a first. I don't think we've had this specific bow in white before. I do kind of wish they'd used that compound bow that they used for Hawkeye. There's the one that would come in those little weapon packs back in like Kingdom and stuff. Those are 2 really cool parts that we don't see quite too much of anymore. And I think those would have looked really cool to kind of get the mechanical aesthetic across. The standard bow is okay, but doesn't feel quite right. But she also comes with a build for her spear here. And it's an interesting little build with very few parts, but it looks really cool, and I'm really happy to get those feather parts in red there. You also get some extras of those. And that just looks awesome on the end there. And then on the minifigure itself is just fantastic. It is a brand new molded hairpiece. It is on the softer side. It isn't like the hard ABS plastic, but it isn't as rubbery as some Lego hair pieces tend to be. But it is dual molded with some of that harder translucent blue ABS plastic that gives a little blue ring around her earpiece that is printed on her face. So that is really, really cool, and is something I haven't really seen done before in a minifigure hairpiece. And that just looks awesome. And the sculpt of this hairpiece is fantastic with all of these braids. It's so gorgeous, and is a really, really impressive feat of minifigure design. It is sort of a specialty piece that I don't think will really apply to any sort of sig figs or anything, just because of that little blue ring around the earpiece. But that doesn't matter because I'm not taking this minifigure apart. It is way too cool. And there is some gorgeous printing along the arms and on the chest and the legs, and you've even got that printing of the skirt and belt pieces going down across that waist piece there. Taking off her hairpiece, there is some printing on the back as well, and you also get a look at her alternate sort of quizzical face. I really do like the face prints on here. You've got this sort of slightly open-mouthed, curious face, and then you have this little quizzical, quirky smirk with a raised eyebrow. And all the prints on here are really, really nice quality. The arm printing looks fantastic. The only thing that sort of bothers me is the print on the skirt down onto those dark tan legs. That should be the same color as the molded tan plastic, but since it's being printed on that darker tan base, it comes across a little washed out. And that's something we're seeing more and more with Lego nowadays, is just them color matching the prints with the molds isn't an exact art. And it kind of stinks, especially in higher end collector sets like these, to have instances like that. But it is what it is. It doesn't bother me too much. And this minifigure is still one for the ages. This is a fantastic figure, and I'm so happy to have it in my collection. So with that out of the way, that just leaves us with a tall neck model itself. And I was a little surprised that this was, I was a little surprised in the first place when they announced this set that they were even doing a Horizon Zero Dawn set, or Forbidden West set. It seemed interesting, like an interesting choice. Just Sony itself are making Lego sets based on their video games. There has been a lot of mock builders out there who have tackled some of the designs, the beautiful biomechanical stuff from Horizon, and I think it's a really good fit with Lego, and they just knocked it out of the park with this. The designer, in his little interview section in the manual, actually mentions a lot of mock builders and how they inspired this set, and this set is dedicated to those mock builders, which is always awesome to see official Lego content acknowledging such talented creators out there. I was expecting more like the Razorback or something, but I think the tall neck is definitely one of my favorite designs from the game and is really, really cool. There's some beautiful building techniques used here, a lot more of that snot technique. They've got these big, heavy ratchet joints pegged into the chest here, which is a really, really sturdy construction, so that's not going anywhere. And then you've got the neck that is actually pegged in with a Technic axle and isn't actually studded in. So it has its support and it's held there really sturdily, but there's no stress on any parts there, which is really nice. And then the head here, that just round dish. That's built with Legos, man. That looks fantastic. It's like a perfect circle. That is just really, really cool. And the build techniques used here are really interesting. There are quite a few stickers on this model, but I do think they really add to it. They don't really take away. You've got some along the back here, and you have the ones around the head. And then there's one on the butt here. But that's pretty much all the stickers. A good handful of them, but yeah, they really do add to it. All of the greebling here is just gorgeous, and I really like these pearl gold molded, these are the Orc Swords from Lord of the Rings, the Uruk-hai swords. I always love seeing them bring back Lord of the Rings parts, like these swords and Shang-Chi sets use the 1 ring pieces for the 10 rings. I love Lego Lord of the Rings, and I miss it so much. And they're so expensive now. God. But it's really cool to have this part molded in a new color. You don't get any extras of it. There are so many cool parts in new colors in this set that are fantastic for mock builders. And I was inspired to build stuff after building this. But it's kind of tempting and disappointing at the same time because this is such a cool set. I don't want to disassemble it to use the parts for anything. Yeah, you can put Aloy up on top here, stabbing the little red data thing. There's data in that, right? Something like that, like to get information, you gotta stab their heads or something. It's been a long time since I've played the game. But yeah, what really surprised me here is actually the design of the feet. They're really, really simple, and they use that minifigure display part that they introduced with the DC minifigure line, molded in that light bluish gray to attach the outer toes. And it's just a really, really simple build. And then there's a Technic pin hole there that pegs into the 4 gray pins on the base plate. So those peg in pretty easy. It's a little weird with the ball joints at the ankles and the ratchet joints at the shoulders to kind of line them all up at the same time and peg them in. But once you get them in there, it's nice and sturdy. You get a little wobble out of it just because it's Technic pins. They have some spin to them, but it's not going anywhere. It's pegged in there good, and it's sturdy enough to pick up from the tall neck itself, and that base isn't going anywhere. So it would definitely suffer immensely if it fell off of a shelf. And then there's a little jumper plate here to put Aloy on to hide behind the tall grass. And on the box, it shows the Watcher displayed over here by the stoplight. It's a little weird getting the Watcher studded in, just because he uses those little sort of rearview mirror, sussy Among Us parts for his feet, so he has to have like empty ground behind where his feet stud in to get on there. But yeah, he pegs in there just fine. But this is just an absolutely beautiful display piece with some fantastic parts usage. I like to grade my Lego sets sort of on a 3-point scale. First, we have build experience. How much fun was it to actually build the set? The display ability and overall look of the set. How does it look sitting on a shelf? And just how cool overall is the design work put into it? And then there's just the overall value. A lot of times, price per part ratio and minifigure selection really go in there. So overall, there's a lot of nitpicking within my little system there. But this is mostly a little system I devised for myself to use in discerning, my favorite Lego sets. Build experience for this, I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 5. It was really, really interesting, and there's a lot of really fun techniques used here, but there is some tedious moments, like with the legs just kind of building the same parts over and over again. Especially the base was the most tedious part, just sort of building that inner structure. Once you start getting to the details and seeing things flesh out, then things come together, and it's really, really cool and fun. And there's such unique parts usage and techniques used here that it really does keep you entertained the whole time, as opposed to something like the Daily Bugle set, which I really, really love, but is really tedious to put together. It's just, do this 14 times, or something like the mosaics that look really cool and have amazing display potential, but are just a pain in the butt to put together. So overall, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 on the overall build itself and how much fun it was to put together. For display ability, it's a 5 out of 5. This thing looks amazing. The parts usage and design put into this is spectacular, and the quality of the minifigure and the, having the Watcher there, they easily could have just not done the Watcher or done like a really simple, you know, a UCS style stand that was just like a little Technic build with a plaque with a sticker on it talking about the TALLNECK. I'm so glad they did not do that because that pisses me off. I hate that. I love these little vignette displays. They look so cool and so classy. I'm just, the presentation and display possibilities for this thing are amazing, and it's beautiful from all angles. So yeah, that's definitely a 5 out of 5. So the set was $79.99. Overall value, the price per part is really good. For, you know, $80 for, you know, 1,222 pieces. That's a pretty good ratio. There's a lot of small parts used here, so there isn't really anything besides the minifigure to really ramp up those prices. So the price, so I think for what you're getting, you're paying a really decent price. I would have loved if there was another minifigure, but there really isn't anyone else I would have picked. It would have been cool if there was like another outfit for Aloy or something, some other equipment. That would have been really neat, but at that point, that's just nitpicking. So it's really hard with value here because that's really subjective if you get what you put into it out of it. For me, I think the value here is a 5 out of 5. So that overall leads us with 14 out of 15 for my scale. This is a really good set with some awesome value, fantastic minifigures, awesome parts usage and quality. It's no Pirates of Barracuda Bay, which is the only set I personally purchased and built and gave a 15 out of 15 on my score, but it's damn close. This is one of my favorite sets, and definitely so far has been my favorite set of 2021. If you find it, if you can order it when it drops on May 1st, definitely pick it up. This is fantastic. So yeah, I did something a little different today on Toy Talk. Haven't done any Lego videos. I do want to do some more. So if you enjoyed, like, comment, let me know. Let me know if there's any sets coming out that you would like to see us do reviews on. Anything video game related, we'll probably get a set. Oh, I'm gonna regret that, aren't I? But yeah, we've got lots of awesome content on the Nostalgic Network. Tons of stuff about video games, toys, comics, TV. So if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy hearing me ramble, give us a follow. We've got some awesome content going out. All of our socials are down in the description, along with our Discord and our Patreon. So yeah, thanks for sticking around, and I wish you the best of luck in finding this thing. So I'm gonna go set this on a shelf and stare at it for probably the next 45 minutes. Catch you later.